So Tom and Jim mentioned why. I kind of want to go through how. So as our product team, we're going to give you a little bit of an update on the product, how we've been developing it, and really our latest release. This one a little. So as Tom mentioned, we're looking at a $600 billion market. However you look at it, any analyst report, it's a large market. It's one of the largest software markets in history, and it's an exciting time to be in software. However, a lot of, we've talked about this a lot. A lot of companies are really approaching it and first setting up a data lake, right? Rather than understanding what are the business drivers, what's the economic benefit, what are the applications that will drive economic benefit, the approach is first build the data lake, or potentially multiple data lakes. Then the idea is to use tools against this data lake to solve various problems. These could be AI models, these could be analytical solutions or general applications themselves. However, the fundamental problem here is that you now have duplicate data. You may have multiple data stores. You don't have common object models. You don't have common machine learning models. So every business unit is looking at it in a very different way when they might actually be solving some of the same problems. So if you look at the market, really what's happening is that you have the hyperscalers who are providing kind of infrastructure as a service. They've moved up the stack, and they're offering platform as a service capabilities as well. These are things like Kinesis. These are things like Lambda, Vertex, and other services as well. But as you look at solving these AI problems and you look at doing it at scale, you need, and what's missing in the market, is an AI application development platform. And the ability for data scientists, developers, business analysts to talk on one platform and build on one platform, have full reusability and extensibility as well. And then to get additional acceleration, you need to have AI applications, pre-built applications that include data models, that include machine learning features, that include application logic and workflows, and configurable UI. And what we've really been focused on over the last 10 years is this layer of the stack, right? The innovations are happening at the infrastructure level, they're happening at the platform level, but where our focus is really the application platform, the low-code and no-code tools that connect to that platform to allow you to develop AI applications at scale, and then pre-built rich AI applications, right? In the supply chain space, in the CRM space, in the reliability space, defense and intelligence, to drive acceleration. And really, if you go back to this, where C3 fits in is, we're not a replacement for the data lakes that exist, but we are an application platform that leverages those investments. We sit on top of these different data stores and allow you to have a data unification layer, which could be virtual. We can actually virtualize on top of these data stores. It provides you a business-friendly data model. We have continuous analytics processing that provides the analytic libraries that are available and extensible, and AI and machine learning capabilities. These are things like machine learning pipelines and the tools themselves necessary to build these AI applications, and then our pre-built AI applications. If you look at the history, this has been a large software project, right? I mean, this is a complex space, it's a large market, and it's going to be transformative in terms of what software is going to provide. We started in 2009 really building this model-driven architecture that Tom talked about, right? So we focused on actually investing up front in the model-driven architecture. We then scaled to look at data integration and correlation at scale. We then moved to sensor data, IoT and polyglot data stores, right? And then after that, we had to really focus on AI and ML. We were doing AI and ML back in 2012, early on into the product. So I think really thinking about it and scaling it at pretty large scale, and I think some of Dan's examples as well. After that, we really moved into how do developers use the platform? What's the tooling? What's the experience? How do we make that better and allow data scientists and developers to use the platform? And then version 6 was really around multi-cloud. How do we allow it to run on Google? How do we run on Azure, Amazon, or behind the firewall? And then version 7 was all about applications, right? How do we make richer and richer applications across the various areas? And our version 7 product is ranked #1. It's ranked by #1 by Forrester in industrial software platforms, #1 in analytics and data, #1 in platform differentiation, #1 in security, #1 in connect functions, #1 in partner strategy, and #1 in strength of market offering. We were ranked the leader by Omdia in enterprise ML development platforms, by IDC in digital solutions for energy, by Bloomberg in the oil and gas space, L&S in the process and infrastructure industries, shortlisted by Constellation in terms of the machine learning platforms, and more importantly, our customers are winning awards for the economic benefit that they're driving and the scale of their deployments. However, we've received a lot of feedback over the last few years, right? As people have started to deploy our version 7 product at scale, we've had a lot of developers, a lot of data scientists, a lot of business users who have been using the platform. And we've had lots of meetings to get feedback, right? We've had over 3,500 C3ai meetings. We've looked at 16,800 C3ai kind of community posts, feedback and questions that people are asking. We've looked at our training feedback reports. People take our training programs, they provide us feedback on the platform, on the applications themselves. And we've looked at a lot of the support tickets that exist as well. And we've looked at all the feedback in the CSAT surveys that every one of you completes. And product roadmap and workshop sessions. What developers in IT told us is they want to be able to leverage their existing investments. They want better data virtualization capabilities. Dan made it very clear he wants Delta Lake. We made that happen. OSI Pi virtualization and integration, microservices architecture, and others. Data scientists told us that the prototyping experience can be better. We want to have the ability to prototype and auto metadata create. We want integrations to Vertex AI. We want faster onboarding and data science experience. And we want faster prototyping to production. The business told us scale of economics of deployment, more pre-built applications, and extensible object models. A lot of this feedback over the last few years did not allow us to have an incremental update in our platform. This wasn't something that we can take this feedback and just add more capabilities to upgrade what we were doing. Some of this was fundamental to how we had actually architected the platform and how we thought about doing things early on. So over the last 3 years, we started to take on a big software engineering project to re-engineer the core platform itself. Now that we've done the scale of deployments that we've been doing, we've had a lot of interactions with our developer and data science community, the business users. We've learned a lot. We're a leader in what we're doing with our version 7 product, but we want this next product to be the leader for the next decade. And therefore, what we're excited to announce is our version 8 product today. So version 8, little Atari theme there. Version 8 will allow faster production deployments. We've done a lot of work in the onboarding experience, a lot of work in the developer tools, brand new VS Code interface, brand new Jupyter Lab interface, and a lot of work in the training and documentation area. Faster to enterprise scale, a lot more around reusability, new machine learning pipelines, other capabilities. Performance. As we re-architected, we learned how to optimize a lot of the performance capabilities that we had, and we were able to drive a lot of improvements here. One platform for all developers, data scientists, and citizen data scientists. And we actually have done a lot of increased options for IT with a brand new deployment architecture. So if you look at faster to enterprise scale, the idea is that with C3, and we're proving this right now in our current release, but we're going to accelerate it even more, is as you deploy a use case, the second, third, and fourth use case will dramatically decrease in time. You've already integrated the data. You've already got the common object models. You've got machine learning features available. But we've introduced features like Feature Store in version 8, new machine learning pipeline capabilities. So we're going to accelerate the deployment and faster to enterprise scale in what we're doing. Performance is dramatic, right? So we've done a lot of work in the memory footprint, the optimization. We've done a lot of work in how you actually do real-time metadata updates, data processing improvements, and faster AI and ML execution, kind of the Python execution. We've really thought about one platform for all your users, right? So for the developers, we created a brand new VS Code interface. Given a lot of feedback we had from version 7. We have a brand new Jupyter Lab interface as part of the platform itself. For system integrators, we've created a low-code tool in C3ai Studio. So you don't have to write a lot of code. You can configure the applications, and we'll go deeper into what we're doing there. For citizen data scientists, Mark will cover this, but a no-code tool that allows you to in-memory analyze the data and let your business analysts or citizen data scientists use the platform, and the business is using the applications. But most importantly, when the developer does something or the data scientist does something, it's available to the citizen data scientist, or as the business looks at something, it's available to the developers as well. From an IT flexibility perspective, we've deployed a brand new deployment architecture, whether we can deploy in the cloud or at the edge. We've done, security continues to be a big priority for us. We've always invested in security. We continue to invest in security. We've added new kind of application isolation resources, new application level security. And given a lot of the re-architecture of the platform itself, the efficiencies that we have, we're able to reduce runtime costs with version 8 as well. So we're excited. I think the whole conference, with the breakout sessions and everything that we're doing, we're going to provide deeper dives into what we've done with version 8. And what I'd like to do now is introduce Nikhil Krishnan, who's going to go a little deeper into the version 8 product.
Thank you, Houman. I'm going to go deeper into the V8 product and try to hit some of the highlights across the various layers of effort. We also have demo booths set up throughout the show. We have also breakout sessions where we'll go much deeper, and I encourage you to join them. And we have many of our product team here today. So I'm going to double-click on this. So Houman showed this diagram where we have the AI application platform sitting on top of the PaaS and the IaaS layers, a set of low-code, no-code tools, and AI applications. When you double-click on this, you end up with the diagram that Tom showed earlier today. And the layer on top is the applications layer. Below that, low-code, no-code tools. Below that, the actual application platform as a service. And there's a lot of detail here. We're here to explain a lot of the V8 innovations in much more detail, but I do want to hit some of the highlights. So I'm going to start with the AI Studio, which is the set of low-code, no-code tools. This is the interface to the platform in version 8. It's where developers, data scientists, data engineers all collaborate together to actually work on the platform. And it's where you can go all the way from data management to machine learning to the actual DevSecOps and operations layers. Now, when we look at the AI Studio in version 8, this is a snapshot of our global canvas that you're seeing here, where I can actually pull in data sets. I can visualize applications. I can implement applications if I'm going through an existing application trying to implement that. Or I can extend application if I'm a partner of C3ai as one of the system integrators. They can, or our customers can actually extend and modify our applications. Fully open, fully interactive, fully extensible, and then integrated low-code and high-code experiences. What that means is that teams with different skill sets collaborating together with some expert scientists, maybe collaborating with data engineering folks who are non-expert, and they can get the task done. So let me double-click on that. So integrated deep code tools. We've done a lot of work on a VS Code integration over the years. The VS Code integration continues in version 8, but we've introduced some new capabilities with real-time error checking, the ability to write, manage, and execute tests directly from VS Code that we think will streamline and accelerate developer productivity. A big innovation, I'll talk much more about this, V8, a lot of features for data scientists. One thing that we're very excited about is a new Jupyter Lab experience, which is going to provide a much richer experience for teams. So it's a migration from Jupyter to Jupyter Lab in V8, where teams can actually manage runtimes, manage libraries, manage their data science services, all from one cohesive whole. And then over time, we're going to add a lot of widgets, a lot of helper functions for the expert scientists to really get their job done. And again, all of these things interoperate with the core low-code experience. We're also excited to launch a UI designer in version 8, where non-expert programmers will be able to visually make changes to the UI, click, drag, and drop experience, where you can extend existing UI pages, share visualization components across applications, manage processes and workflows. All of this to accelerate the actual core mission of our company, which is the enterprise AI application space. And then lastly, the DevSecOps and the operations process, tools for that, where teams can actually manage builds directly from this interface, manage releases, deploy AI applications, and manage those applications in production. So significant effort in tooling. So now let me double-click on the next layer down, so on the platform itself, and I highlight some of the innovations there. And I'm going to go a little fast in the interest of time, but we have a lot more details that we can cover in the details sections. So first, data integration. So we heard your feedback, and Dan mentioned this as well, and many of you have talked to us over the years. So we introduced a lot of core connectors in version 8 for the modern systems that our customers are using. Databricks, Snowflake, OSI Pi, Delta Lake, Google BigQuery. These are some of the highlights in terms of platform connectors that we're super excited about in version 8. Second, on the platform management services. This is a big area of investment for us in version 8, and Houman alluded to it. I'll double-click on a few things. Number one, runtimes. We've always had the ability to run from the cloud to the edge, and I think we demonstrated this actually two transforms ago, if I recall. And in version 8, we've done a full re-architecture of the core runtime of the platform to natively take advantage of a lot of Kubernetes capabilities. This greatly streamlines our ability to go from very large-scale cloud deployments, database-backed, petabyte scale, all the way down to very lightweight edge footprints for the same applications that are potentially, have no database backing, just have a very lightweight runtime environment. This is greatly simplified in version 8. A second piece is deployment here, and a fundamental change to our application deployment architecture in version 8. I'll give you the concept. In version 8, you can have one large environment. You have application 1 with compute nodes, distributed scale-out, database nodes, a second application that's actually going to share some of the database resources, and then keep adding applications. It's very simple to add applications in version 8 in the same environment, up to thousands of applications, potentially some of them sharing database services and some not. And this is very new for us. We're very excited about this capability. We think it's going to greatly accelerate the productivity of our teams and also support faster application deployment, share or isolate resources, simplify the cost management structure, and then also teams will be able to start and stop applications on demand. I think this is going to be quite game-changing. Two other platform services I want to highlight. One is encryption. So we've always had encryption at rest, always had encryption at motion, in motion, and satisfying some of the most demanding customers, financial services, Department of Defense. What's new in version 8 is we have application-level encryption. That is, for sensitive fields, the application developer can decide to encrypt certain fields or columns, and those fields or columns are not accessible even to the database administrator. So this is a cool new feature we're excited to introduce. And a second feature is privacy. So we've built in key anonymization libraries at the ground level in our version 8 platform, basically to support the privacy tasks that are, again, our most demanding and sensitive customers have asked us for, which is ensuring that PII, anonymized data, cannot be reconstructed, basically. OK. Data governance, this is another big piece for what we've tried to do in version 8 with data veracity, data lineage, data profiling, all packaged into the version 8 platform. We've built an application that we call C3ai Data Veracity that can be attached to any C3ai application or any application that you all build that out of the box will provide data quality insights, data distribution, anomaly analysis, outlier analysis, help you validate basically the data chains that the machine learning models need, and do this all automatically. This is game-changing, by the way. This capability allows you all of a sudden to introspect the data needs for an application and to get the pulse on what data are actually flowing through. As our customers, as in the Shell case, you see there's millions of predictions occurring in near real-time, in real-time streaming, and this allows you to keep track of all of that. Now, near and dear to my heart, and most importantly, a significant effort in version 8 has been around data science. And we've really listened to a lot of feedback over the years from data scientists who have really pushed us to expand, if you will, the aperture of what we're able to provide them. And the first thing that I want to highlight there is auto metadata creation. This is game-changing. So we've always supported at C3 the full application lifecycle. On the left, you see data operations, data exploration. And along the top, you see the steps that data scientists need to go through all the way from model deployment, operations, model monitoring. And on the bottom, the application development cycle, which goes in parallel, app development, deployment, application monitoring. And these things need to converge in an AI application. Now, the secret here, and as many of you know, is this is not a linear process. As you're building a new application, you're going back and forth. You're making mistakes. You're going back often to the very beginning, where you're integrating different data or integrating it differently. This has caused a huge pain point. This causes significant difficulties, particularly for data scientists, because they get pressured around data operations and data exploration. And the reason is that they're often collaborating with teams of data engineers and application developers, but the data engineers and application developers are not keeping pace with the data science needs. So in version 8, we're excited to announce a new capability for data scientists where they can do the data integration themselves. They don't have to wait for data engineering. And they can do this data integration while getting their applications to production state. So what this means is there's no rework required. There's no learning curve. It's fast, scalable, interactive. It uses Ray underneath the hood for distributed scale-out in-memory processing. Their data scientist is just using a Pythonic interface to access raw data, work with raw data, manipulate raw data. The C3ai application platform behind the scenes records everything that the data scientist does and then converts that to production metadata that can then be deployed for a very large-scale production application with no data engineering required. So potentially this makes this greatly simplifies the experience, makes it self-service for data scientists, and not just for a prototype, this is for production deployment. So hugely excited about that. A second big investment, Houman alluded to this, is the feature store. And in version 8, we've introduced a lot more capabilities to both have time series support for feature stores and non-time series support. And we're not just persisting the feature recipes or the feature metadata, but actually the feature data sets automatically behind the scenes for the data scientists. No additional work required. And as features update, as data change, the feature store automatically updates as well. So again, this is in the context of a production application. So this is going to greatly accelerate the data science development experience. Machine learning pipelines. Again, a big investment here. This has been a big piece of feedback we've heard from all of you, which is that data scientists do not want to learn the C3ai type system. They want to use the tools that they know and love. They want to be able to operate directly in a Pythonic interface. And so in version 8, we've met the data scientists where they are. So there's no learning curve for building and configuring a machine learning pipeline on the C3ai application platform in V8. Data scientists can declare their pipeline entirely as Python classes, and the full lineage, but the conversion of those classes to C3ai types occurs automatically to allow you the benefits of production scale-out with none of the overhead in the development experience. And the full lineage is then captured automatically in those pipelines. Not just the features attached to the pipeline, but all the way from the source data, the data transformations, the features into the pipeline. That entire lineage is captured for production scale applications, for enterprise scale. Lastly, last point for data scientists. We've heard this feedback also loud and clear that many data scientists like the tools that they work in. And increasingly they're working in whether it's Google Vertex AI or AWS SageMaker, Amazon SageMaker, or Azure ML. And what we've done in V8 is we've made it easy for them to use those tools, but at the same time operate their applications at enterprise scale. So go from prototyping to production, using the tools of their choice, meeting them where they are. And so that's what we've done, for example, with Google Vertex. The data scientists can start to work in Vertex AI notebooks. We have an SDK that we offer into Vertex AI. So they can do their data operations in Vertex. They can do their prototyping in Vertex. And then in production operation, they can choose whether they want to run that natively in C3 at scale, or they want to run it through C3ai, but backed by Google Vertex. Both are available and accessible. So the data scientist gets to choose how it goes to production. Same choice for Azure ML. And then same capability we're also offering for AWS, for Amazon SageMaker. So again, a big investment in V8 for data scientists. OK. I want to switch gears now and talk about applications. Now, there's many application suites, and I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. But I also want to leave some time for Lila, who's going to come up next to actually show you one of these applications. And these are rich, workflow-enabled AI applications that ingest data from multiple sources that are extensible, that are open. You can add your secret sauce into these applications to create your competitive differentiation. And most importantly, they accelerate a journey to value, which is where most of our customers are. You want to capture value, whether it's business value or operational mission value, quickly. And that's what these applications are designed to do. The first application suite is the supply chain suite. And here, this has been a tremendous area for us, given all the stresses of COVID. This application suite has been very valuable for many of our customers because they're operating in an era of unprecedented uncertainty today. You all are. And so we have multiple applications here. I'm going to step through each one very quickly. The first is, and our oldest application in this space, is inventory optimization. So this application basically provides global, granular, SKU-level visibility for purchase parts, work-in-process inventory, finished goods inventory, and looks at demand uncertainty, supply uncertainty, and really helps our customers optimize inventory levels at multiple locations with the full network graph of your supply chain managed to increase service levels, to reduce inventory costs, and to increase productivity. Very excited about this application. It really introduces numerical techniques never seen before to the management of inventory levels, and really brings probabilistic thinking ground up to inventory management. The second application, sister application of inventory, is supply network risk. So this application helps maximize your on-time and in full deliveries to your customers. And the problem is, especially in today's environment, suppliers are often late, and suppliers are often supplying less than what you might expect, and potentially not even the quality that you might expect. So this application helps us model and manage risk at a SKU location, each SKU, every location, every single day, in order to shift from responding and reacting to risk to actually preventing risks, and in order to predict delays to optimize production. So hugely impactful application, especially in this era of COVID. The next application is production schedule optimization. This is helping within the factory boundary. What do you actually make when, on what line, and how do you do that given, again, demand and supply uncertainty, manufacturing uncertainty, and all the labor shortages and labor uncertainty that you all are grappling with. Increase order fulfillment, increase scheduling productivity. Again, a hugely impactful, very rich application. Sourcing optimization, this is one of our new applications we're excited to release this year, which helps our customers manage their sourcing costs at global scale, look at AI algorithms that actually help minimize procurement costs, detect anomalies, and identify and flag anomalies for global purchasing teams, decrease supplier risk, and then proactively address cost-saving opportunities, all in a single unified workflow-enabled app. And then lastly, in the supply chain suite, demand forecasting. This is SKU-level forecasting, item-level forecasting at each location, what-if analysis, probabilistic forecasting for millions of SKUs, scalable application to increase the efficiency of planning processes. Because the one thing we know about planning is that the plans are always wrong. So what we try to do in our application suite and supply chain is inform the ERPs, inform the planning tools, inform the SNOP and IBP processes. And as Jim Snabe mentioned, this is really changing the DNA of the operation of an enterprise to be much more nimble, much more able to anticipate risks as opposed to being whipsawed around. Okay, so that's the supply chain suite. A lot there. A second area for us is sustainability suite. And here we have one application, C3ai Energy Management, that is our oldest application, helps facility-level energy management. I'll talk about this in a second. But then we also have two applications on our roadmap that we will be releasing in version 8. One is an enterprise-scale ESG application, and the second is a manufacturing sustainability application to really help the producers of this world manage their carbon footprints related to the unit processes that they run. Our energy management application, this helps minimize energy consumption, costs, carbon emissions, scope 1, scope 2, help manage projects, help validate project savings and ROI. It's a very mature application, our oldest one, and a lot of work that's gone into this to enhance it. Okay, national security. A lot of work in the defense and intel space that we're excited to release with version 8. Our oldest application here is a readiness one. You'll be able to see a demo and access the demo of this. And Houman, Tom, others mentioned that this application won the Constellation Supernova Award last year for best AI application in the world. And right now we have order of 20 aircraft platforms alive at the US Air Force on this application. Significant scale. We're proud to partner with the Air Force to improve operational readiness, reduce unplanned downtime, cleanse incoming structured data, manage your scheduled as well as unscheduled maintenance, and optimize long-range supply forecasts. Really valuable workflow-enabled application there. A second newer application for us is intelligence analysis. And this is helping our law enforcement as well as our intelligence and defense customers fuse global-level data, fuse data from potentially uncorrelated sensor feeds, identify patterns of life at global scale, and identify anomalies from those patterns of life and surface new key relationships and anomalous behavior. Lastly, a decision advantage application. So this is really around multi-domain sensor fusion, so fusing satellite data with UAV data, for example, and then ground-level sensors. And how do you actually do sensor management with those data fusion tasks at scale and use that to develop course of action development? Happy to, again, talk about this in more detail. Okay. A couple of more things. So financial services. Here we have a family of applications, including anti-money laundering, where we're helping banks basically catch bad actors in the financial systems, reduce false positives using AI, increase the overall recall of true positives that are identified, analyze complex behavioral patterns, and a deep workflow-enabled application here. A smart lending application to accelerate the credit decisioning process. A vast majority of credit applicants are actually fit to be cleared. This application actually helps greenlight a majority of credit decisions while highlighting only a few that would really need to be flagged for additional human review to increase loan throughput to proactively monitor risk. Now, one big innovation that we're excited to release and talk about is an application called C3ai Data Vision. And the concept there is really to help directed investigative analysis, where you want to do link-based analysis or geospatial analysis or time series analysis, pattern of life analysis on top of all of the data. Think about it as plugging all of your data into a graph analysis framework and a visualization framework for that graph analysis. It's a very flexible application. We're integrating it to all C3ai applications, and it's also available to you, to our customers, to integrate this into your applications. The benefits are enormous. For example, this is a view of data vision plugged into our anti-money laundering application. What you can see here is, in addition to getting a list of scores and, hey, who do I prosecute from a money laundering perspective, this application walks the human along. It takes the human analyst, it explains to the human analyst why a specific case is worthy of review. Why did the AI flag somebody for investigation? And it greatly accelerates the time for them to adjudicate that case and to say, hey, do I agree with the algorithm? Do I disagree with the algorithm? What are the reasons why this case was highlighted for me? And so this is an example of the power of this data vision application embedded into a C3ai application workflow. OK, so the last thing I want to talk about is the industrial asset management, industrial asset operation space. We have hugely invested in this space with a family of pre-built applications, including a reliability application, which is our flagship predictive maintenance application, process optimization application, which is Dan alluded to around Nigeria LNG and the real-time process optimization capabilities there. The turnaround optimization, which is a new one we are about to release around large scheduled downtime events and optimizing all of the work around that. And then lastly, a production optimization application. With that, let me introduce Lila Fridley, who's going to walk you through some software demos.
Thank you, Nikhil. All right, so as Nikhil mentioned, C3i Reliability is our flagship predictive maintenance application, and I'm going to give you a demo of this along with other capabilities and applications in the cohesive C3ai application development platform here in a few minutes. As Nikhil mentioned, C3ai process optimization aims to increase yield, throughput, and energy efficiency for manufacturing processes. And C3ai turnaround optimization is a new application we'll be launching soon to reduce the duration and total cost of large-scale turnaround maintenance events that happen at large manufacturing plants around the world. So before I get into the demo, I want to tie this back to what Nikhil and Houman just spoke about in terms of increasing the speed with which we can deploy these applications and the scalability of them. For C3ai Reliability, we have increased the speed with which we can scale the application by 40-fold. We've done this in two really important ways. We measure this first in the time it takes for a data scientist to train and implement a machine learning model for a single asset. And unlike the Shell use case, I'm talking about pieces of equipment, whether those are turbines or compressors, pumps, motors, what have you. We've done this through hardened ML pipelines, automated data pre-processing and data cleansing, and end-user workflows that I'll show you here in a minute for training and managing machine learning models in production. A second really important factor is the time it takes to onboard new assets. How do you get to those 10,000 assets in production that Shell has? Well, you need to be able to enable users to incrementally add new assets to their live production deployment of C3ai Reliability. We've done this through end-user workflows and more automated data preprocessing in order for users to more quickly bring new assets into the application. As a result, we are now able to scale reliability in the same 12-week deployment timeline from what used to be 10 assets in a 12-week project to now 200 assets in that same time frame, a 40-fold increase in the speed of deployment. So I'm going to walk you through a few demos of the different users of the C3ai application development platform and our applications themselves. I'll talk you through this for a large industrial manufacturer of plastics and consumer goods, Acme Corp. And I'll start this journey with Vivian, a reliability engineer. Vivian starts her day with C3ai Reliability, which helps prioritize her work for her. She's able to aggregate all of her relevant information and prioritize the alerts for the assets that she cares about. In this case, she's looking at the assets on the blow molding line, where she sees that the AI models have identified that the lube oil system is very high risk. She opens the recent alerts and sees that the lube oil system has several open alerts that she needs to investigate. This dramatically reduces the time it takes for her to do her job already. She previously had to sift through time series data, condition monitoring alarms, and many spurious alerts in order to find what matters. In this case, C3ai Reliability has already prioritized this for her, so she sees what she needs to investigate first. She opens those alert details, and the evidence package of the application shows her what are the top feature contributions, what are the latest sensor alerts, are different sensors misbehaving, are they behaving erratically? What are the recommended failure modes from C3ai Reliability's out-of-the-box failure mode libraries? And gives her investigative tools to plot recent data and understand if this is a real risk that she needs to take action with. Once she's satisfied that this is, in fact, a real alert, she opens a case, which is her collaboration vehicle, to communicate to her colleagues across the company. She provides feedback to the machine learning model in C3ai Reliability, which is a critical piece of any AI application. She needs to provide feedback for the machine learning engineers and the data scientists who are managing these models in production, and for continuous learning to indicate whether or not this alert was a true positive or a false positive, so those models will continuously learn over time. After filling in these details, she moves on to the case where she can directly take action in the application. Within the case workflow, she's able to review those recommended actions and failure modes, which provides prescriptive recommendations for how to resolve this issue on the lube oil system. As a reliability engineer, it's not enough to just flag the issue in a remote center or in the office tower. She needs to be able to provide a recommendation to the field team in order to resolve the issue at hand. In this case, she takes the recommended action and creates a work order so that the maintenance team on the ground at in the blow molding line can quickly resolve the issue to repair the pump on the lube oil system to avoid catastrophic failure. This is how she takes the AI insights and turns it into real business value for Acme Corp. Next, I'll introduce Jacob. Jacob is a data scientist with Acme who's responsible for managing machine learning models in production to help reliability engineers like Vivian do her job and make sure that those models are performing as expected. Jacob logs in to C3ai Reliability, but he uses the model management tools of the application. On these screens, he's able to see what are all of the available machine learning models, monitoring all of the assets that are in production. And he has been notified that one of the machine learning models has missed 2 events. Vivian, the reliability engineering team, believe that that model has drifted over time, and he needs to investigate what's going wrong with it. He dives into the model details, and he sees all of the relevant information. What are the recent features? What are the recent AI alerts? What's the feedback that he's gotten from the reliability engineering team and all the end business users? He aggregates that feedback and has a few options. He could choose to change the model status and retire it and choose to promote a different model that he's already trained and has available to him. He could choose to retrain the existing model, or in this case, he can choose to train a new model and configure it from scratch. C3ai has been working on reliability for many, many years, with many of you, and have learned how to do these problems. Our data scientists know how to do reliability and predictive maintenance. We've worked with those data scientists to provide out-of-the-box workflows to configure these models in production. We use the same APIs and the same algorithms that our data scientists use to precede the application with those model templates and provide end users like Jacob and other customer data scientists to configure their models for them in the application. Importantly, this workflow is powered by the same object model as the reliability application itself, meaning that we're able to surface the relevant features for Jacob so he doesn't have to go digging through the Pi historian or digging through some database in order to find the relevant information for that lube oil system. Instead, the application is surfacing it for him, surfacing those relevant features for him, so that he can very quickly train the right model in production. He clicks to save and train the model, and it gets provisioned back to the application where he can confirm that the model is now training, and when it's available and finished training, he can promote it to live to replace this poorly performing model and resolve the issue of the drift. Next, I'll introduce Samra. Samra is a data engineer at Acme Core, and she's responsible for managing the data integration pipelines and the health of the data that are flowing into applications like C3ai Reliability. Samra uses the new C3ai Data Veracity capability, which seamlessly plugs into C3ai Reliability and all other C3 applications. On the main landing screen of C3ai Data Veracity, she can see the health of all of the data ingestion pipelines relevant to the application. On the heat map, she very quickly sees that most of the canonicals, most of those data ingestion pipelines are behaving normally, except for one very important source, the time series historian, is facing an issue. She sees that there's a critical alert on this canonical and dives in to understand what is going wrong. In the alert details, she sees that 9 out of 10 files in the most recent data load failed to ingest, and the root cause indicates that these were because these are the incorrect file format. Previously, Samra used to have to dig through Splunk logs or other trace monitoring systems to understand if there was even a problem, and if so, what the root cause was. In just 2 clicks, Samra now knows exactly what the problem is and what the root cause is. Next, she wants to understand the impact of that issue. She dives into the data lineage view, which shows her where the data are coming from, in this case, her time series historian, and how these data flow, are transformed, and are used in analytics and machine learning pipelines throughout the C3ai Reliability application. She sees that this time series data historian is used for the risk prediction ML models, which are a critical piece of monitoring assets with the reliability application. She now has all of the information she needs to create an action plan and communicate with her stakeholders across the organization to resolve this issue. Next, let's meet Andy. Andy is an application developer at Acme Core, and he's responsible for developing applications like C3ai Reliability and other applications across the organization. In this case, reliability engineers like Vivian have asked Andy to extend C3ai Reliability to add a new field. Andy uses C3ai Studio to manage all of his applications across the organization, to manage his live production environments, his development environments, to work with his colleagues, and to access C3 development resources like training, documentation, and the community posts that Houman mentioned earlier. In order to extend C3ai Reliability, Andy dives into a development environment for reliability. He accesses the canvas view, which is similar to the data lineage. However, as an application developer, Andy has the opportunity to add new data objects, change the relationships between those objects, and add new analytics and UI capabilities. The first thing he does is he navigates to the correct object where he wants to add the request from Vivian. In this case, she's asked for a forecasted time to failure in addition to the reliability risk score model. She wants to know, how long do I have until this asset fails? In order to understand that, he navigates to the reliability risk alert object type, which is where the reliability risk score alerts are stored. And he wants to understand if the time to failure machine learning pipeline has already been configured. If so, it's relatively trivial for him to add this new field into the UI. He looks for the field and previews the relevant data to see if anything is populating, as you can see on the screen. In this case, there's no data populating the time to failure prediction model. So he knows that he needs to work with a data scientist. He goes and calls his friend Jacob, who's very familiar with the C3ai Studio interface. Jacob is able to launch the native Jupyter integration in order to configure a new machine learning model for the time to failure risk prediction. He has a few options. He could use the pre-seeded pipelines that I mentioned earlier that are available from C3ai Reliability, or he could choose to configure his own model. In this case, he chooses to configure his own time-to-failure forecast using the secret sauce that Nikhil mentioned that data scientists are able to embed by extending C3ai applications. He configures his machine learning model and clicks Run in order to generate the predictions back into the reliability object model. Going back into the canvas, he again previews the data to make sure that this pipeline is correctly populating the application. This is huge. There's normally a really big challenge when data scientists have to work with developers because they're using completely different tools. Using the C3ai Studio, those two personas are now working in the same interface, and there's no handoff required between data scientists to develop their models and those models to become available in the application for production deployment. This is available for Andy to resume his workflow and now use this new pipeline to extend the application. Previewing the data, Andy confirms that the new machine learning pipeline is now populating the time to failure risk prediction field. The time to failure is now available, and Andy's ready to update the user interface for the reliability application. He very quickly can navigate to the page that he wants to edit, in this case, the All Alerts page of the reliability application. He goes into the UI editor. In the UI editor, Andy now has a drag and drop tool in order to take the new field that he just validated. There is available data, and there's a machine learning pipeline populating this field. He drags it into the All Alerts grid, where it now can populate the UI. And he configures the field so it's very easily accessible to the reliability engineering team. He clicks deploy, and finally this application is ready for users like Vivian and the reliability engineering team to do their job, all with the new machine learning pipeline, a new field in the UI, and all managed and implemented in a cohesive application experience with the entire team, Jacob, Vivian, Andy, and Samra working together in a unified experience across the applications. So with that, in order to tell the story of prototyping new use cases for Acme Corporation, I'd love to introduce Mark Wolin to speak about C3ai X Machina.
Thank you so much, Lila. Very nicely done. So Lila just shared with everyone, kind of just a glimpse into C3ai's, low-code capabilities, our deep code capabilities. What I'd like to do now is go into the no-code elements that C3ai makes available to you, to your citizen data scientists, and we do that through something that we call C3ai X Machina. Now, X Machina, for those of you that may not be familiar with it, is complete, unified, cloud-native advanced analytics, and it includes no-code machine learning elements as well, which empower the citizen data scientists in your organization to deliver insights on a much more rapid basis from data that comes from very, very diverse data sources, including from the C3ai type system. And in addition to doing one-off analyses, they can also automate analytics on an ongoing basis as new data comes to the fore. And what they can also do is not just be successful working on their own, but they can actually work with X Machina with teammates of theirs and collaborating across data sets, pipelines, dashboards, and more. What's also super powerful about X Machina is it doesn't just exist on its own. It's a critical part of what we do here with the C3ai platform. And to that extent, one of the things we've heard a lot is that there is no end to the number of use cases that are screaming out for some sort of AI elements added to them. However, there's often a deficit of data science talent to focus on all of those projects. So to basically overcome this gap, the idea here with X Machina is to empower citizen data scientists. And these are people that, they have frontline roles in the business. They're operators, they're engineers, they're analysts in different departments. Give them the capabilities to actually using no-code elements, connect to different data sources, do prototyping, build dashboards, automate those. And in the case of some C3 customers, like Con Ed, for example, where you see an analysis based on some of the data that you brought in together and commingled with basically something from C3ai type system data, and you've got an interesting use case that looks like it should become an actual ongoing, real-time, hardened AI enterprise application, we'll go ahead and do that by working with your data scientists and your app developers over on the C3 platform. Now, X Machina, there's really kind of three key things, and we'll show this to you in just a moment, that you're doing when you work with X Machina. Number one, you're taking data from various sources. Again, it could be C3ai type data. It could be data from various business applications for which we have a lot of out-of-the-box connectors, so SAP, Oracle, Salesforce. You'll take data from maybe different cloud sources, S3, ADLS, Databricks, Snowflake, the list goes on. But you take that data together, you'll actually then go ahead and like wrangle it, and you'll do some sort of analysis on it. It could be advanced statistics, could be machine learning, and you'll share that output, whether it be through data sets, pipelines, and dashboards with other people in your organization. Now, what I'd like to do to kind of like make that kind of at the high level, kind of come home for everybody, is give you a live, real-time demonstration of X Machina in action. Now, to do that, I'm going to narrate, but I'm joined by my partner in crime back there in Mission Control, JP Spence, colleague, friend of mine on the X Machina team. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you a demonstration of C3i X Machina in action. And I'm going to do so from the standpoint of a pricing analyst back at, guess what, Acme Corporation. Now, as a pricing analyst at Acme, what am I kind of responsible for doing? I help define the pricing strategy. How do I do it? I've got a lot of different data that I depend on. Pricing data, deal data, product configuration data that comes out of bills of material. And then one of the challenges I often find with this is this data is growing more and more over time to the point where the traditional tools I often rely on, like Excel or other desktop analytics, they can't quite keep up. And as a result, what happens is I have to basically take subsets of data, and even the analytics I can do then have another challenge associated with them. They're simply basically static, kind of analyses. They look backward in time. They can't be automated. The moment I publish them, they're effectively out of date. And that means that if I want to try and drive meaningful change in my organization, what's happening is it's not possible. We have a discounting problem here at Acme because of this. And what that results in is, when we have a lack of discounting discipline in our pricing, we see a lot of sellers, at the end of the quarter in particular, taking a cost-based approach to discounting, and we're giving away massive discounts just to get deals across the line. And that's resulted in a problem called margin leakage. So what I want to do is basically show you how I can use X Machina to quickly connect to multiple data sources, how I can analyze discount policies historically. In doing so, identify opportunities to reduce discounts and potentially even increase margins. And with all of that, also share those insights out in a fashion where others in the organization can take action on them. Now, right now, let's take a look at X Machina. You can see the demonstration starting up here. If you look at the upper right-hand side, you'll see there's a little pill up there, and it says 256 gigabytes. That's because, as I mentioned earlier, X Machina is entirely cloud native. Now, that 256 gigs, that's like 4x the size of like my beefiest laptop. It's more than enough for my particular needs. Now, if there's people in my organization that need more than that, you can scale X Machina up to terabytes or even petabytes in size if need be. Now, in addition to like extensive compute capabilities, what's also really cool about X Machina and really useful is it gives me the ability to create and share best practices for myself and others on my team. You can see here what we call X Machina templates. These are basically use cases or sub-pieces of work of projects people have built out and created for reuse on their own or to share out with other people on their teams. And in this case, again, I told you the problem I've encountered is one around margin leakage. I've been working on this a while, so I've created a template for that purpose. Let's double-click and go into it right now. Now, as we go in here, what we've done is we've entered into what we call the canvas area in X Machina. This is where you design the entirety of your analysis. And it's a drag-and-drop environment. Again, as we mentioned, no code. Now, anything I do, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, it starts out with the data that I need. And you can see some of the data sources I'm working with here. You're seeing CRM data, there's pricing data, and there's actually data from our supply risk network application powered by C3ai. So there's C3ai type system data here as well. Now, once I've connected my data, the next thing I need to do is I actually need to perform an analysis on it. And to do that, what I've done is I've taken advantage of something we call an X Machina pipeline. Now, you can think of a pipeline basically as a connected series of data prep and analytics steps. It's where I do data cleansing. It's where I do all the data wrangling needed for downstream analyses. And the great thing about these is once I create them, I can reuse them any number of times that I might desire. If there's elements of this pipeline I want to reuse for another use case, I can easily take it, branch it, version it off. And for that matter, if I have a colleague that would like to borrow from my work, I can share it with them very easily as well. Now, this particular pipeline I built here has been, again, kind of designed to focus on the core problem I'm assessing here, which is discounts and the impact those discounts are having on margins. Now, one of the things that's also really useful here in X Machina is the ability to quickly visualize the results of your analyses. And so what I'd like to do for first example here is basically get a handle on kind of what kind of discounting has been going on historically. So I'll take advantage of these really easy to use kind of drag and drop visualizations in X Machina. And I'll plot on the x-axis deal size, and on the vertical axis, I'll plot discount. And what you can see pretty quickly here in just a moment is that it looks like we're actually giving away some pretty big discounts to get some of these deals close, like sometimes as high as 40%. So if that's what's happening from a discounting standpoint, I'd now like to understand what is the impact on margins for certain products. Well, I can again do another visualization that will actually show me that as well for various product lines. And we'll just look at a couple of here. With this historical discounting that we've experienced, you can see some product lines like glass fiber. The impact is it's a 7% margin for that product line. Or if you look alternatively at overlength panels, it's not quite as bad. That's where at 26% margins. And everything I've looked at so far, if you think about it, it's a helpful thing to like know in terms of developing and understanding. But really, it's not something that's necessarily going to empower me or my team, at least not yet, to drive meaningful improvements going forward. How might I do that? Well, if I have the power of predictive capabilities, I can. And with AutoML inside X Machina, and again, no-code AutoML, we actually make that very, very doable. Now, to start down this process, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an AutoML model, and I'm going to train it. And I'm going to do this again based on this historical data around various factors like customer, configuration, pricing, and the like. All the factors effectively that we think play an influential role in the likelihood of whether or not we're going to win a deal. Now, is X Machina's AutoML goes through all this, and it's already completed, but what you're seeing happening is it's actually churning through dozens of models, or dozens of algorithms, apologies, hundreds of times to come up with the top-performing models. And the other thing you're seeing here as well, when you look at these top-performing models, like at this XGBoost model, for example, is X Machina is not a black box. It actually explains all the key model metrics to help you gain confidence in the recommendation that X Machina is making for you. And with this kind of confidence, what it now empowers me to do is move forward so I can actually predict what discounting might make the most sense for the deals that are in my active pipeline going forward. Now, before I do that, just a quick recap. So far, I've connected to various data sources, did some data wrangling, did some basic visualizations, and I've trained a machine learning model. Now what I want to do is I want to use that to predict the optimal discount needed to win deals in my current pipeline. And as you can see here, we've basically gone through and kind of scored these opportunities many, many times. To do this, what I've been doing, by the way, is I've held certain factors constant, like customer, product, volume, because what I want to determine is what's the discounting threshold needed to win each of these deals. Now, if you look at the results here, we can actually take a look here. We can start to see deal by deal of these open opportunities in my pipeline, what the actual model predicts is the discount threshold necessary to win. So for Novel Center, for example, it looks like a 30% discount is needed to win that deal. Alternatively, applicable assortment, that only requires a 2% discount. So this helps me to identify that minimum discount needed to help win my deals. But again, I want to understand what kind of impact, hopefully beneficial, this can have on margins for our product lines. Oh, by the way, also, if you look at this plot of deals over here, let's look at that real quick. I just want to show this. This is another visualization. Look at those deals on the lower right-hand side. These are deals, by the way, with our prior cost-based approach. We would have been giving away for much higher discounts, sometimes as high as 40%. Now, let's go, as I mentioned a moment ago, let's go take a look now at the impact this potentially, if we rolled this out, could have on margins for certain product lines. So with this AI-optimized discounting, if we were to roll this out, what would it look like for, say, the paper and metal product line? Well, there's an incremental 1 to 2% of margin improvement there. And for glass, even better, an incremental 10% margin improvement opportunity. So again, with these predictive capabilities, all no-code base, this is the kind of stuff that I simply could not do prior to having X Machina. And by the way, it's great that I'm like the smarter for it, but what good is that if I can't share it with others in my organization? Let's say I want to share it with like my VP of sales operations, for example. Well, in the past, what I would have done is I would have taken my analytics, I would have recreated my work in tools like a Power BI and a Tableau, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just extra time. And instead, with X Machina now, we have a new capability we call X Machina Stories. And what it allows me to do is I can take any number of visualizations, I can assemble them into a dashboard that I can share on a read-only basis with any number of individuals or teams throughout my organization. And by the way, dashboards aren't the only thing you can share. Again, you can share the output of models and pipelines through X Machina pipelines. You can share X Machina data sets. But stories are very powerful because, as I mentioned at the outset, like, if I want to go from insight to action to drive change, I need to put these insights in the hands of the people that are in the front lines. And these X Machina dashboards can be shared as well with C3ai applications. And so in our case here at Acme Corporation, guess which CRM we're using? C3ai CRM, which Tom's going to share about more with you tomorrow. But I can share this dashboard directly with the sellers who are using C3ai CRM. This gives them the confidence and the knowledge to go out there and discount no more than is necessary to win their business. And in doing so, I think what I've helped to achieve for the business, just as a humble citizen data scientist, is basically going from a problem, pretty bad one, around margin leakage, to identifying some very prescriptive ways to actually drive margin expansion. And in doing so, hopefully, drive some growth for Acme Corporation. With that, Houman, I'll pass it back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lila and Nikhil. Get through Mark's. So you saw kind of everything that we've enabled in version 8. I think there are the deep dives that we're going to go through and the product breakouts. Look, we're here for you to tell us what else we should do. We'd love you to get feedback. We'd love to get feedback in terms of our version 8 product. We've heard you. We've implemented a set of changes, massive re-engineering, but we'd like to hear more. What else can we do? We do have the product breakout sessions. I think it'll be an important element to actually go deeper than we've gone now, but go deeper into a lot of the capabilities that we have. And more importantly, our products team is here, right? So we've brought in our entire product management organization across the applications, across the platform, data science, and it's important to interact with them, provide feedback, and give us, tell us what else we can do overall. That's it. Thank you.